support that I got from my family, or the fact that, maybe I had certain advantages. And I think accepting that is a big aspect of that, is understanding that you were given a lot of opportunities that a lot of people get at that age. And so to use those opportunities responsibly is something that at least my family has brought me up to believe in. And I also actually graduated in COVID, and we were just talking about that earlier. And I think that a lot of organizations and companies and startups that started post-COVID, suddenly became geared towards not just chasing profits or metrics, but also, what their consumer was feeling at the end of the day. It was more impact-driven, more impact-centric. We wanted to actually, either work towards climate change or impact people's lives. And I think I was also one of those people, because I started my company during COVID in the middle of the lockdown. And I think that at that time, everyone's mind was on how can we help. I think it didn't even have to be on a larger scale. It was just how can we help even one individual person, because of what the climate was like at the time. And so I think that was where the sentiment for just wanting to help and do something, and share a lot of the opportunities and resources that I was given, so that a lot of other people can do the same with their time and their, intelligence. And we have, of course, this report is about Gen Z, and I really think that our generation has so much talent, and not enough opportunities to, perform or to use those abilities. And I was just trying to see if I could create a platform that would allow that to happen.
I really admire you for all of this. I think Project Naveli has been doing a wonderful job. I see only Shreyas clapping at the end of every answer. Please, he's been rooting for every one of us.
Yeah.
We all need to root also for the people on the stage.
Thank
Yeah,
you. It's such a
lovely
great
answer.
feeling. No matter what you say, he's going to clap.
Yeah,
for
Shreyas
you.
is like, I'm rooting for you all as well.
Makes you feel that someone is listening.
Yes, thank you.
Come on. See, the UR team is clapping. They've got the brief. The rest of you also now need to catch up. I continue with you, Navya, because you mentioned the workplace. I think we were talking about happiness at the workplace. There is obviously this understanding that Gen Zs and young people in general are conditioned to hustle a lot. That word has been thrown around a lot, right? Most young people now today are speaking up about their mental health at the workplaces. They're speaking about how difficult it is sometimes for them to work in environments where they're forced to work longer. There's no work-life balance, etc. As a young entrepreneur who also leads a team of young, do you have can you give us an understanding of how you ensure a positive workplace and positive work environment? Any tips that you may have for the rest of them? But would love to hear your learnings, and as well as just if you would like to pass them on to others.
I think firstly, I'm sitting in a room full of very distinguished people, so I don't know what tips I'm going to give them. But from the last 3 years of my experience of running a team, I think something I learned to do is be an empathetic leader. I think we need more empathy in the workplace. And I think leaders often believe that, your team is working for you, but I think they work with you. It's not something that, you're above. Or I don't think, like you say, hierarchy has anything to do with respect. I think every member of your team should be given respect, equal respect, no matter what designation they have. And something, at least I think in the beginning, at least being a woman in the workplace and then being a young person in the workplace, I felt I had to be very assertive in the way that I was doing my business or in the way I was doing work. I had to be very in control, and that's not the reality. As human beings, we can't always be in control. And I think I learned very quickly that the only way that I would create a happy or, just a positive work culture was if I was empathetic, and if I was able to express my good days, but also my bad days. If I was able to express things that, I was not sure of, if I didn't know how to do. And I think that what created a really nice culture with the team, because they felt that they had the transparency to come and tell me things, when they aren't feeling the best or when they aren't having the best days. And I think that's really what we've tried to do, is just be empathetic to each other, and, despite designations or hierarchy. And I think that that's just worked really well for us. And we have a very positive work environment where that if you're not doing well on a particular day, someone else is going to be there for you. Like Shreyas has been clapping for everyone. That you have a team of people who will be there to lift you up if you're not feeling the best. And I think it's equally important for leaders to understand that you can't always be in control, you can't always be in power. And I think that your vulnerability and your humanity at the end of the day is what's going to make other people actually, value that more. And it just creates a really nice cycle of happy people in the workplace.
So well said, so well said. First time everyone's clapped before Shreyas, so I like that. I appreciate it. I mean, I just want to reiterate, I think it's such an important point, right? I think some of the research also and the report also brought this up. We saw that about 61 to 64% people are actually saying that they would rather value a mental health positive workplace or a flexible work environment even more than perhaps their salaries. As we've gone on campuses now on ground and we're hearing this with young people, we're hearing them speak up and say that we care about our us at the workplace as much as we care about the work at the workplace. So thank you for bringing that in. I would, Niharika, again, as the other Gen Z on this stage, I've spoken about advice, but I know that a lot of young people today are choosing alternate careers like yours. I don't even know if content creation today or being a digital creator is an alternate career at this point with 10 million, I think, and more people wanting to take this up. What kind of an advice would you give to any young person from something you have learned, from the mistakes that you may have made or the hard work that you've done to come here? What advice would you like to give other young people on how do you maintain your happiness and well-being while being creators or just working in alternate professions outside of the typical workplace?
I think social media can be extremely enticing, and you look at it and you're like, oh my god, this is so amazing, we should do this. But it's just everybody's highlight reel, guys. You really don't see what is going behind it. I'm not saying, oh, it's so difficult. I'm just saying there's the ugly also. I think for me, I graduated 6 months ago, and even 6 months ago, I wasn't ready to not take up a job because it's a very unstable career. I'm one of the top creators today, tomorrow it's someone else. And the entertainment industry has a shelf life, especially for women. And I'm very aware of it, which is why don't quit your job. If you have a stable 9 to 5, it's good to have stability. Do this on the side until the paycheck that comes from this is, way higher or makes you feel financially stable and comfortable. I don't think you should leave it for the glitz and the glam because you're relevant today, you're not tomorrow. What are you going to eat? Flashes and cameras? No, you need money, right? So I think when you do social media, you have to be very sensible. I just don't think you should jump into it. A lot of creators are like, oh my God, do social media, do it. But to get the kind of money that you get once you're at the top, you'll have a lot of years where you make absolutely no money on social media and nobody's watching you. Will you still make those videos if you're not making money and nobody's watching? If your answer is no, you're not ready. Social media creator is not your passion. Make videos that you want to make on the side. Once it starts bringing you money, do it as a job. That's it. That's my 2 cents because I wouldn't leave a financially stable space to follow a passion that I don't even know what it would take me, Be passionate, don't be stupid, basically.
Nicely put. Uh, yeah, I think a lot of these things we don't even understand. I think it's they're the Gen Zs and young people are the first generation that is actually living through this. So their kind of history in as it is being formed. So it's important to have this kind of context. So thank you for providing that. We're talking about workplaces. We've spoken about pressure, external pressure, Shreyas. But as a Team India cricketer, I would imagine that it was something that you would want to do when growing up. Now you're here. There are also expectations you have from yourself. And we hear a lot of young people putting that very hard pressure on themselves to be performing all the time, to be kind of making sure that they're always succeeding, which is not possible, obviously, right? As a batsman, there are times you get out earlier. There are times you, so to speak, fail. How do you deal with your own expectations when, failure happens in such a public sphere?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question, and I feel in every walks of life right now, coming from social media or, corporate life, me as a cricketer, sportsman, all of us, we strive for success and we want to achieve something and make sure that we get somewhere in our life. And obviously, there is going to be pressure in every step that you take. But for me, pressure is an integral part of my business. I feel if pressure is not there, I won't enjoy. And when pressure is there, there is a lot of competition, and competition creates opportunities, and opportunities will take you somewhere if you click at the right time. But I see to it that I take this opportunity of pressure and I try to channel it to my motivation and focus. So that's how I cope up with pressure. And talking about expectations, obviously, I feel that whenever I walk on the street now, I'll like to give an example over here. Whenever I walk on the street, especially after my training, there are people standing outside the gate of the stadium and they want to take pictures. And I always stop and they ask me, keep asking me, कभी आ रहे हो आप वापस खेलने के लिए कितना टाइम लगेगा आपको फिट होने because for last few months I have been just rehabbing and I don't know myself when I'll be back, but I've been grinding and going through this phase pretty strong, because the pressure is always there and the expectation is there from people for you to come and perform and see to it that you're consistently playing for your country. And I have that thing at the back of my mind, but I know personally how to cope with it. It might differ for someone else. Whatever suits me, it doesn't suit anyone over here. You might get your own mantra and own thought process to deal with such aspects. For me, this is working, and that's what I love to follow personally. So, yeah, and also in between, as I mentioned previously, I love to practice mindfulness, where I do meditation, where I try to find some peace, which makes me happy.